Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Speak Your Mind with Larry Cox. It's great to have each and every one of you here joining me tonight. Great to have all my friends on the show. I'm going to go immediately to saying hello to all you people who have decided to tell me hello in the chat. And there, my friend Danielle Munez from up in Minnesota. Good evening, Danielle. Welcome to the show. Are you back in Minnesota now, Danielle? Or are you still traveling the United States of America there? George Kilichek, welcome to the show. Cheryl Moulton, welcome to the show. John Bowers, great to have you, John. Looking forward to some of your comments tonight, John. I'm going to ask the audience some stuff, and I have faith that you'll have some comments for us, John, because I want this to be one of my interactive shows tonight because it's the last show of the year and get some audience involvement. Charlotte Gellert, great to have you here tonight, and Mary Boysworth, great to have you, Mary. And I just want to ask you how retirement is going for you. I know you recently retired. I want to know how that's going and uh, how that's going on. Small crowd so far, Charlotte, but the crowd tends to grow as we go. So we've got a few. I mean, it's growing right now as things uh, tend to do. But it's great to have you guys. Bill Campbell, great to have you join the show. And that's the thing about it. Show starts at 8, and usually by 8:10, 8:15, we've got a decent little audience, and that's what I see right now building. We've got a decent little audience building tonight, and a lot of people go back. Brian Doty, hey Brian, nice to see you on here, man. I hope you had a good holiday, and I know we're getting ready to get crazy at work, and you know how that goes, man. Work's going to be crazy this year. First quarter is going to be crazy. Alex McDonald, welcome to the show. Alex here. I know Alex was traveling a little bit last week too. Alex, hope you're back home and settled in and everything too. Mary says uh, going great, but I'm busier than ever, and that's something that I've heard many of folks tell me that they retire once they retire, they don't know how they did everything they needed to do when they were working because it just seems like there's not enough time to accomplish everything they need to accomplish. So Mary, you're experiencing that phenomenon now, as most of my friends who have retired have told me that happens once they retire. That they just don't realize how they found time to do everything before they retired. So that's wild. And hello from the Corbett's. Hello, how are you doing, Corbett's? Nice to have you on the show. Uh, Danielle says she is back in Minnesota. Um, uh, where did that go to, Danielle? I lost your comment. I had Daniel's comment. It went away. Crazy. She got home a few hours ago. So she got home a few hours ago and immediately jumps on this network and this show. We must be hot topic. People traveling home to make sure they get on here. Uh, Wallace D. Smith. Hello, Wallace. How you doing? Nice to have you on the show tonight. Um, guys, last show of the year, right? And time to reflect on things that went on in this past year and specifically here in Rockdale County and good old Conyers, and was wanting to get some input from you guys on what you thought the most significant happening or event that occurred locally, in Rockdale County. To me, there are a couple of different things, right? Um, First and foremost was the election, the local elections that occurred in May and June with our runoffs. To me, I mean, that signified a great change in the direction of Rockdale County, and it signified the citizens of Rockdale County having input and having say. And then the second, and in my opinion, a significant thing is the biolab. disaster that occurred. And Alex said, yeah, it has to be biolab. I think it exposed a lot of things about some inadequacies that we have in the community, the inadequacies that government has set up as far as emergency response and how to care for citizens in the event of a disaster. I think it really exposed the fact that Rockdale County is not, we're not set up to handle an emergency. Because that, even though it was an emergency, what would have happened if that would have been worse? We were not set up to handle a disaster in this county. We're not prepared. We don't do preparation. We don't do practices. We are just not prepared. And it's something that I want to discuss and talk about moving forward. And I want to use my position as a newly elected official in Rockdale County to actually do that, because our school system is also one of the entities that needs to be prepared in the event of an emergency. And it's going to take coordination between the school board, the board of commission, and the city. Moving forward, we have to be prepared if something catastrophic happens in this community. I think we all saw that we were not prepared at whatsoever for that. Ms. Russo, I don't know if it was more of a lack of funds or more of lack of preparation. I've always said this. I think we have plenty enough money. I just don't think we spend it properly. I'm going to stick to that. I think we have plenty enough money, and we just won't stick to it. Alex McDonald, I've got to put this one up. I find it amusing. So I think we have, Alex, and that is hilarious, right? Very hilarious. We'll see what goes on with all that nonsense as we move forward. So Cheryl, this is interesting. I want to put Cheryl's comment up here, right? We still have not had a local emergency planning meeting, despite my repeated emails to Rockdale EMA. So William Campbell, let me go ahead and go, Mr. Campbell. We have the funds. It's just not being spent on the right things, and that's where I tend to go in that same direction as William Campbell. I believe it's all priority. It's priority of where we spend our monies. And, in you say we're only spending a little here, a little there. But when you spend a little here and a little there in the wrong places, and you keep spending a little here and a little there in the wrong places, it adds up to a whole lot of money being spent in the wrong places. And that is what I see wrong with government spending. We have a tendency, we'll just spend this. It's not a lot, and it doesn't add up. But when you end up spending 10,000 here, 50,000 here, 100,000 here, next thing you know, you've spent $20-30 million in the wrong place. And that's a program, and that's something that adds up. And it really impacts a community and a local budget when that happens. And when you look at it on the state and federal levels, when they do it, and just the magnitude of spending a little bit of money here and there in the wrong place, and how that adds up to millions and millions of dollars. Well, billions. Let's just say on the federal level, it'd be billions of dollars. And on the state level, it would be hundreds of millions of dollars. And on the local levels, it would be tens of millions of dollars. It's what it ends up adding up to being when you just spend these small amounts of monies in these. Well, it doesn't matter. It's just a small amount of money. I'll give you a good example. We've talked about it when we look at the Board of Commission in the past, and and even the Board of Education. I think I'm going to look at it with travel, right? Is it necessary to travel places, and could we utilize more like right here, excuse me, like media video training. If we want to do that, let's utilize technology, and let's not have to always travel somewhere. Um, I don't think the travel is as necessary as it once was, when we can actually bring things to us virtually. We can set things up on a big giant screen somewhere and bring together people, and we can meet internally. We can meet in county, and we can do these things. These retreats that they have to go on, because a lot of times they go out of town to meet, so they can meet in a quorum, so they can talk about stuff, advertise it, and you not be there to hear it. That's a little trick, just so you know. I think that's something we need to look at very closely, right? John, I'm gonna put your comment up here. These are exactly the kind of things that I think, for example, summer concerts or exotic car shows. They're your example. And if we're funding those things and we don't find sponsorship, and that's the thing about it. Do I think the county and the city and such, should we promote those events? 1000%. We should promote those events, but those events need to be done with private sponsorship to do that. So, Corliss, it isn't necessary to take 30 and 50 directors and deputy directors. Again, that's where we talk about, it's a little bit of money here and there, but when you do that multiple times a year, and you do all these different things all the time, it adds up. It adds up to being tens of millions of dollars. At the end of the day, when these little expenses, you keep doing them and repeating them and repeating them and repeating them, it adds up to tens of millions of dollars for local government. And, just take, for example, I ran on a simple campaign when it came into education to focus more on basics, on reading, writing, and arithmetic. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I've, been hearing some feedback from some people in the educational community. They're concerned that I don't understand what else they do in education besides reading, writing, and arithmetic. Well, this is my concern with education, right? If we're worried more about focusing on other things are more of a priority than reading and writing and arithmetic, then we've lost focus on what education is about, haven't we? Education is about reading, writing, and arithmetic. That's what education is about. It's about reading, writing, and arithmetic so that we can expand our knowledge and be able to expand our minds and learn new things and grasp knowledge openly. But if we're more worried about transgender sports, we're more worried about who can go into this bathroom or that bathroom, if we're more worried about DEI hiring, or if we're more worried about pronouns, then we've lost check with reality. Okay, we've lost check with reality if those are the concerns that that we're worried about. When they talk about social and emotional learning and such, all fine and dandy, right? It has its place in education, but it doesn't have its place above reading, writing, and arithmetic, right? That's just reality. It does not have its place above reading, writing, and arithmetic, because that's the core values of education. And then when we look, what are the core values of local government? To provide water, infrastructure, sewer, a good business environment. John, I'm going to put this up here. When the kids in your county can't add, can't read, and can't write, then all other priorities should be cut, and there are only 3 priorities: reading, writing, and arithmetic, period. Thank you, John. Thank you for seeing my point on this. And people who are in the system who are concerned that I want to put more emphasis on a core basic curriculum, then this is what I have to say to you. Shame on you. That's right. I said it out loud. And I won't have a problem saying that when I take that seat. Because unlike when you say that you're there for the best interest of the kids, then that best interest is to ensure that kids receive a good basic education and can read and write and add and subtract. That's what it. And if you can do that, if kids have that basic ability, let me tell you what, then the road is endless. There is an endless, just an endless possibilities for these youth. If they are able to grasp the basics and they're able to grasp them wholeheartedly, and they're competent at it, then that opens that window to them to be able to learn and grasp, obtain knowledge, teach themselves how to do things. And it's a wonderful thing. I met somebody, in the grocery store that I knew yesterday, and he was talking to me about, the little thing about cooking dinners on Saturday and such and something. And he said, if I know how to read, then I can do that. And that just hits home, doesn't it? If you know how to read and comprehend what you read, then what you can do is endless. The ability to read and grasp what you read and take that knowledge and harness it, it's just endless. It is just endless. So let me see what Miss Russo says. Larry, you will get a lot of heat by doing the right thing. So hoping you have been able to grow a thick skin. I've not been able to grow thick skin because my skin was already thick, and I got to lotion up every day because it's so thick. So yeah, I'm good, Miss Russo. Thank you for being concerned. But one of the reasons I ran for office was because I want to see I want there to be value. I want you to see value with the education system. I want the everyday normal person to see value in the money that they're investing in the Rockdale County educational system. And that's what I want to be. I want to see that value. I want to make sure you see the value of your investment in education. But because what we're doing is we're investing in our future. We're investing in the future of our local community, our state, and this country. When we invest in education, because when we have a well-educated youth who are able to step into these positions that, like, just be frank, that we're aging. I mean, I'm aging. I'm 60 years old. I'm not going to be here. I've been here longer than I'm going to be here now, right? And that's the reality of it. But if we can prepare the youth of today to be our leaders and the future for tomorrow, then that's what we're supposed to do. They said, are you going to leave this country better than you found it? And that's something that I want to do. I want to leave this local community better than I found it. And I think a lot of you, just like you felt that this local community has been on a tailspin and it's been on a decline. And we can't say that. We can't say that we're leaving this community in a better condition than we found it. And that's disheartening. But that's why you, the voters of Rockdale County, took to the polls this past election and you voted for change. And that's why any of us who ran for office and were elected, the voters wanted change. They asked for change. So going in and doing the same thing as usual, you better listen. One of the things I think that local elected officials better listen to the voters is about House Bill 581. The voters of Georgia, the voters of Rockdale County, the voters in general, 60% said they wanted House Bill 581 to be enacted. There's a provision to allow local entities, local Board of Education commissions and cities to opt out. The local legislature, and I talked to several legislators, they put that clause in there because there was some pressure, but they didn't feel that any local entities or anything, they didn't think people would opt out because they felt that the political consequence at the end of the day would be so heavy that they didn't think that you would have very few opting out. And, the other day we heard a report from, Rockdale County School Superintendent when he said that, he had talked to all the Metro supers and he doesn't know any of them that are going to stay in. And I find that disheartening that you have a group of elected officials that feel that way. But I'm going to explain some insight, right? You got an organization called the Georgia School Board, GSBA, Georgia School Board Association, and they're supposed to represent the school boards. All the school boards belong to it, pay some money, and and they belong to it. And this is a problem when the majority of the people that are in decision making and authority positions on the GSBA are former school superintendents. How are they actually looking out for school boards when their past and their reflection of the school system comes from the eyes of a school superintendent? Their view is skewed. Like I said, to me, the GSBA is nothing more than a lobbyist organization. I believe in local control. I believe in using the resources that organizations like the GSBA has, but I don't believe that the GSBA or any of the ACCG or the G, whatever it is that the local government belong to, the city municipalities, they're just resources for us to use. They're not the end all say all. And I was elected, just like Mr. Kenny, who's in the audience, and the other board members, to actually represent our community. Now, in the enacting legislation, we're supposed to look out and make sure we provide a quality education for the children. But by providing a quality education and looking for what's best for the school district, it's also what's best for the community, ACC and GEMA. Yeah. So guys, what we do as elected officials, it's looking out for the best interest of our community. If we have a healthy community, then we'll have a healthy student. If we have a community that's able to afford their taxes and they're able to put food on the table and they're able to do these things, then that helps. I want to put Corliss's comment up there for a second, just so you guys can see it. Larry, but you can't do it by your. Every citizen should have learned what happens when U.S. taxpayers don't show up and speak. We have to support officials that are working for the students and taxpayers by showing up. Thank you, Corliss. And I agree with that. I agree 100%. I can't do it by myself, but that's one of the reasons I have this show. And it's one of the reasons I started my town hall program. And it's one of the reasons I take phone calls from anyone who calls me. I answer text from anyone who texts me. I answer emails from anyone who emails me. I don't hide from anyone. I'm not afraid to answer questions. There'll be some times that I won't be able to answer some questions or have some dialogue about some subjects because once I get on the board, there'll be some things that I'm restricted to discuss. But I will be able to discuss 95% of everything that happens because in the bylaws, in the state law and in the ethics code, it actually says that we are not prohibited from discussing anything that has occurred in open forum or any policy that is public or anything, only things that are executive session regarding students, personnel, those kind of things are off limits, right? But general policy is 100% what we need to do. And that's just what, we need to do. CJ, I want to put this up there. So I called. He answered to be on my show January the 11th. Yeah, CJ, I'll go with CJ had an interesting concept, right? So, and CJ wanted me to know, wanted to know if I wanted to come on the show after I took office, after my first meeting. He wanted to interview me after my first meeting about my thoughts about my first meeting on the board and such. And I thought that was a good concept, and I liked that idea, CJ. And of course, I agreed to it. Because like I said, that's what I ran on. I ran on a policy of transparency. And that's what we need to do. So I'm going to put something else cool. Let's put up here. Also, we voted for change, and we believed each candidate's promises during campaigning is the change we need. So yeah, so that's 100%. So, and that's right. And just so you guys know, my website is still up. My campaign website is still there. I've modified a few of the pages, since the campaign's over, thanking you for whatever, letting you know we're having, we'll have town halls, we'll post them. Some of the news issues are gone, but my campaign issues page has not been disturbed. The issues that I ran on, you can go to my issues page on my votelarrycox.com, and you will see those issues are still there. I ran on a platform. I ran on an agenda. I'm not hiding from anything I ran from. You, the citizens of Rockdale County, elected me on my platform, and I left it up for you to be able to see, because you should have the right to go back and reflect and look at the promises made, and hopefully that I can say promises made, promises kept. So that's what I'm looking at with that, is transparency. So transparency, I'll put this up. Kelly had an interesting point. Everyone in the community wants to see a great school system, but when they see waste, it's ridiculous. And that's correct. Let me get this stuff down. And that's what we want to do. We want to eliminate waste. We want to eliminate waste. I've already put in a request the first meeting to have a board discussion, and I want to talk about the budget. I want to talk about budget cuts, and I'm going to talk about it in public. No harm talking about it a little bit now. So and that's what I want to talk about. I want to talk about ways that we can cut the budget, them things we are doing that are not essential. I want to talk about ways that we used COVID funding and things that we spent it on that we can actually reduce now and not keep. So that's what I would like to do, right? I'd like to do that. I want to make sure there's an open, transparent discussion on the board, so that you, the citizens, know what we're thinking and what's going on. Because too often, when you're on any board, right, you have meetings, not only the Board of Education, Board of Commission, City, all of them, right? If you just go through the process of going through the issues and you never have discussion, you never have board discussion, then the citizens don't get to know their elected official. They don't get to know your opinion on things. They don't get to know how you feel about certain things. So that's why I think board discussion is very important, because it allows the community to be able to weigh in on what their elected officials are thinking and what they agree with on and where are you coming from with what you believe. Let me read this, what Wallace Smith puts up here. I'll put that back. Okay. Larry Cox, well, thankful you were elected. We appreciate your down-to-earth outlook for Rockdale County and your openness. We can relate to that. Thank you, Wallace. And I do appreciate everyone who has supported me and that will continue to support me. Corliss, please ask them to speak in the mic. Corliss, I think it's because they don't speak a lot. They're not used to speaking in the mic. They're just used to a certain process of the meetings. And I'll be honest, a lot of that is that coaching they receive from the GSBA. You know, the GSBA wants them to have this appearance that they get along on everything and everything is, no disagreements. Well, that's not life. That's not real life. If we want our students to learn and to actually know what real life is, it's okay to know that you have 7 members of a board. They all have individual ideas and they may come collectively together on some things and they may not come. But the fact that we're able to, as a board, have discussion, disagree, but at the end of the day, still respect and work with each other, that's the most important lesson that I believe the board can take moving forward. We're going to have open, transparent discussions. We're going to show that we don't always get along. Well, it's not really we don't get along. We don't agree, but we are going to get along. We don't agree on issues. We don't agree on some topics. Some of us may want to go a different direction. But at the end of the day, when we take a vote and the majority of the board goes in a direction, then the rest of the board at that time needs to step up and say, this is the direction we are going. So we're going to back each other and move that direction. And that's maturity. That's actually a governance team, because they want to talk about having a governance team. And that's interesting. And I'm going to say something about this right now, right? So they've had several different meetings and events that the board has had regarding things that are going to happen next year. There's been one person who has not been invited to any of those things that will reflect a board that takes office next week, and that's me. And one of the things I would like to change as a member of the board moving forward, being on the outside, coming to the inside, change policy that from now on, when a new board member is elected, that new board member must be involved in legislative breakfasts, learning sessions that will involve decision making for the next year. We understand that that member does not have a vote between October and December or whatever, but the things that you're talking about, the things that you're briefing the board on, are things that are going to happen during that board member's tenure, and that board member should be involved in those. So, and I think it's let's just say, not something they're used to, because they're not used to new people coming on the board. They're not used to change. They're not used to having to train new people coming in, because those seats don't change hands very often. And that's what we need to know. John, I'll put your comment up there. We need a stricter and stronger policy regarding student discipline and behavior. And that is something I would like for the board to look at, what that is. A Corliss, it's called transition. And I agree 100%. And just going to be honest with you, and probably take some heat for saying this publicly, I do not think that there was a really good job done with transition. Did I go through the steps and take the necessary training? Yes, because the law required me to do the necessary training. But did we go that extra step and beyond to make sure that I was prepared? No. But don't worry about it. I prepared myself. I briefed myself. I reached out to different people. I reached out to experts in education statewide. I did my own training, because I didn't feel I would be trained. So don't worry about it. I won't be caught unprepared. I am prepared. And you know what? I'm ready for this chapter. And I hope you're ready for this chapter. I'm ready for this chapter, beginning with the Board of Education and the Board of Commission. Because there are changes that need to happen in both arenas. And I believe those changes are going to occur under a new watch. And change is not, people fear change, but change is growth. And I think we're going to have growth. We are definitely going to have growth. Now, Charlotte, we worried about the audience a little earlier. Now look at this. We've built a nice audience up. So, John, I'll put that up there. I'm going to read it, not comment on it, but I'm going to read it. Replying to Gore, yes, a transition back to the superintendent being held responsible by the board rather than the board being the super's rubber stamp. So that's that, John. Thank you for that comment. So, but guys, let me tell you, I have enjoyed this past year in Rockdale County, just seeing the growth and the change and the transition of this county, because I believe this county has transitioned and it has turned. And there's some people that are still in power and authority that are going to have to get used to things being different, and they will, because change can be hard to those who are accustomed to the routine. But we have stepped out of the routine, and we're going into to uncharted territories right now. It's uncharted territories right now. So that's what I feel. So, ladies and gentlemen, do you guys have more comments? Kelly, I don't feel it's appropriate that I respond to that comment right now. But I will tell you this: I'm nobody's rubber stamp, and I don't believe the board should be anybody's rubber stamp. And I believe the board will be the board that the citizens of Rockdale County are looking for. So that's what I believe, right? So I'll leave that comment at that. So just so you know, we're all on the same page. And Miss Russo, a lot of people were talking about this, right? We have started to get new restaurants. This is a small step, but a bit of a leap for us. Yes, I think so. You go over to that Taco Mac, and man, it's like the hottest thing on the planet in Rockdale County and Conyers right now, right? That parking lot is packed out. It is just it's just crazy. It is just crazy. It is just crazy. But hey, so this is, I've enjoyed you guys being on here. And Tina Hobbs, I'm going to put that up there. Tina, I think that speaks volumes. We the people have had enough. She put it in all caps, and she's just yelling that out there, right? We the people have had enough. And and that's the thing about it. And that's what I don't think a lot of people understand about what Americans are feeling right now in Rockdale County is people have felt that they have not been listened to. They have felt that that their wants, their needs, and their desires have been ignored by elected officials who just want to do what they want to do and just ignore what the people want and see for their community. I mean, let's just be real. That's one of the reasons and I'm going to talk about something now too, right? So is what it is, right? Everybody, you all know I supported Janice and voted for her. She's a friend of mine. And I think she's going to do a great job, but we disagree on one thing, right? Janice doesn't feel that we need the 5-commission board. And I do, and her think, well, we're in here now, we can handle, but you're not always going to be there. And Rockdale County, we've seen what happens when you've got the all-powerful chairman. It's a bad position for this county. I believe we need the 5 commissioners by districts, and that power equalized, right? You have each of them having a say, and they've got to come together as a majority to get anything done. and then they hire a county manager that they're in charge of, right? So county manager, it's easy to get rid of that county manager. Board can fire them. Chairman, you've all seen what it's like with a chairman, right? Can't get rid of that chairman. You can, but it takes an election. It takes it takes, you know, a community rallying around a change in direction. That's something, right? We've all seen how difficult it was to make political change, and that's what we need to look at, right? So, guys, let me just tell you, I support a 5-commission Rockdale County Board of Commission because it's the right thing to do. It diversifies the power. It takes away the strength of that almighty chair. It puts the power. Let me tell you what a 5-person commission actually does. It puts that power back in your hands, because then you've got our 5 districts and they're divided evenly. Let's just say we've got 100,000 people in Rockdale County. Then those districts would be made up of 20,000 peoples. And usually you got, you know, it's a lot easier for 20,000 people to impact somebody's vote than one person having to listen to 100, because it's not that, you know, because, oh, it's just 100,000, you know, that diluted vote, right? But when you've got that smaller group and you know that 4 or 5,000 of them is what's going to elect you. I mean, it's just reality, right? It's what's going to end of the day. That's what's going to elect you. You're going to listen. You are going to listen because you know there's power in that vote. So that's what we need, right? That's what we need. We need that diversity. That's what we need. We need diversity. Cheryl, most Georgia counties have more than 3 commissioners. They do. The most of Georgia counties have more than 3 commissioners. And you know, and the 3-commission system at one point, it may have been okay when you were a smaller county, smaller population wise. But when you've got the number of people that we have, the 5-commission person makes sense, because it divides that power and it gives you, the people, more voice. It gives you more voice and it gives you more say. What it does is it gives the commissioners less say and gives you more say. So this is what I ask you right now, and I would love to see, do you want more say or less say? And I think it's time to send that message. And I know Representative Taylor and Representative Moore are both 100% in for you getting that representation that you want. So, and I know Representative Taylor intends to introduce that legislation. I wholeheartedly support and will work with her to make sure that legislation is accessible, because that would be a ballot initiative, because that's giving you the right. And if this county commission opposes that being on the ballot, then if they run for election again, then you need to oppose them. Now, it's okay for them to say they don't want it, but if they try to stop you from having the ability to vote on it, then I have to question where they stand. And that's reality, right? That's putting friendships aside and all that. Guys, if anybody tries to block that legislation from becoming a ballot initiative and giving you the ability to vote on it, then you need to reconsider, does that person need your vote? And that's where I stand with that. I stand with that 100%. So that's what I believe. Let me okay, I'm gonna say this, right? Osmond and Nesbitt wanted it before. They both wanted the 5 commission before they were elected. Then once they got elected and got the power, they said nada, right? So, guys, it's up to you. I mean, you know, send your letters, send your emails, go before the commission and tell them you want the 5 commission board. you know, the change we did right now was the change we needed to transition to the 5-commission board. And that's what I look at this as. I look at this, the transition we did now is the transition we needed so that we can now transition to the 5-commission board. That's the way I see it. Would be lovely to have a 5-commission board nonpartisan, but I think that would be too difficult to get. But that's what I would also like to see. Would like to see that commission board be nonpartisan. But that's just something that I believe in, right? So I do want to put that up there because Corliss did mention this to me. So, and she's talking about the raises that the previous board voted themselves in, that they was questioned whether they actually did it legitimately or not with the advertisements. That's just the way it is. I do think that that they should rescind those raises. I believe that, and I do want to put something else up here right now too. So Cheryl, I truly respect your comment to what is right for the people, friendship notwithstanding. And that is true. I mean, I do want to make sure everybody knows that, Janice and I are friends. I respect her. I appreciate her stepping up, running for this office, but there is a political difference in what I believe is right for the citizens. And that's, they have the ability to be able to vote for their, to expand the commission board. It should be their right to do that. This is the biggest example in a decade of being ignored. And let's just look at this, right? We voted down the courthouse a couple of times, but they ignored it and went ahead on it anyway. So with the 2018 bond revenue vote, we voted it down. Both parties had ballot questions several times, sending a message they did not want a courthouse built in Old Town. If we did need a courthouse, let's look at Parker Road. Let's look at a less expensive way to do it. The citizens were not listened to. That's why you've got this change right now, right? Oz Nesbitt and Sherry Washington aren't in office right now because of that courthouse. That's just reality. They're not in office right now because of them pushing something on you didn't want. And this is what I'll say to anybody holding office right now at the Board of Commission. If you try to block the 5 commission, then you don't have to worry about running for one of those 3 positions in 4 years because you're not going to win. If you don't allow the citizens their opportunity to get the government they want, you won't have to worry about sitting in that seat because they're not going to vote for you. That's just reality. Rockdale County has shown they have a spine. The citizens of this county have shown they have a spine. If you don't listen to them, you will pay the price. And that's what I believe, and that's what I know. And I want to show this, okay? And Alex McDonald, don't know if you're on now or whatever, but this is something Alex and I preached for a long time. Now we are 200% of our revenue in debt per Moody rating and can't borrow another penny. Alex McDonald and I both told you, starting back from 2018, that if we went ahead with this courthouse project, which is really an administrative project with a side of courthouse, if we went ahead with this project, that the county would become financially strapped and not able to do anything else. And that's reality. That's exactly what's happened. That's why I think this county should find a way to undo this, step away from it, and not do this project. That would take courage and true leadership. Let's hope that this county government realizes that they can't continue this and they need to step away from this project, find a way to undo it, and go back to some sign of normalcy. If it takes a few $1 million to get out of it, that's a lot better than the $200 million that we're going to end up spending and can't afford. So I think we need a reality check. We need a reality check of what we can and what we can't afford in Rockdale County. And we've seen it. We can't afford this courthouse project. We can't. And Cheryl, you're 100% right. Right? They made us tax poor, and we are tax poor, and that's why we've got to cut budgets. The Board of Commission has to cut their budget, and the Board of Education has to cut their budget. Nobody's going to want to hear it. They're not going to like it. They're going to whine and cry, and it'll be the end of the world. But that needs to happen. So I want to answer this question. You will be told it's a done deal. You will be told they can't do anything about it. That's just simply not true. They don't want to do anything about it. Yes, they can do something about it. Will there be consequences? Would they be penalties? Yes. But will those consequences and penalties be far less than the debt that we're going to incur by going through with it? The answer is yes. The answer is yes, we can do something about it, but it will take courage and it will take thinking out of the box. And I'm not certain if the board is up to that. So, those are the bonds, right? The bonds will be paid for, whatever, right? So somebody earlier in the chat mentioned building a facility, for an outdoor facility or a large facility that we can hold events in. So let me tell you what. The Public Facilities Authority, we wasted an opportunity with the Public Facilities Authority to actually do something like that, because the Public Facilities Authority isn't for what we're using it for. Down in Bibb Macon, they built they used a mall down there. And it was a collaboration between the city, they got a combined government, city, county government, but between Bibb Macon. So they did a PFA, and they built an amphitheater, and then they've got the mall, and they bought it and they revitalized it. And it is a beautiful project. But you know what? It pays for itself, like PFA should do. What we should have done in Rockdale County was created a PFA, collaborated with the city, the county, and the Board of Education. And we should have built a civic center, a community center, that we could have had concerts, we could have had graduations, we could have had something that we could have rallied around as a community. That's what we should have done with the Public Facilities Authority, instead of finding a loophole and using it for building a courthouse and administrative building. Public Facilities Authorities are supposed to be used for bonding projects that pay for themselves. This project is not paying for itself. You and I are paying for it. We were misled, and we were lied to by our elected officials. And our elected officials now could do something if they wished. They just don't wish to. And that's what it is. Like I told you, I've got friends that are there, but I disagree politically. I'm going to speak my mind. It's never stopped me in the past. It's not going to stop me in the future. I was even given some advice by somebody a few weeks ago. They told me, now that you're an elected official, you need to quit doing that podcast. It's too controversial. We like to see you stay in office, and we think that podcast might hurt your political future. No, I don't think so. I think if I do have any type of political future, which I don't at this point actually see anything past the Board of Education, but let's say that I would, I believe people knowing me through this podcast, knowing who I am and what I stand for, and knowing the true me, would do nothing more than help me if I decide to actually do something further in the future. We'll just have to see what the future brings and what happens. But I have no intention of giving up this podcast or stopping this show, because this show, I believe, is one of the few things that you, the citizens of Rockdale County, you're able to come on here and say what you want to say. Unrestricted. I do not restrict your ability to make comments. I do not block people from coming on this show. Um, Anyone who wants to come on can come on and say what they want to say, because I believe in free speech and I believe in your right to say it. Speak your mind with Larry Cox. Speak your mind with Larry Cox. And that's what you need to do. You need to speak your mind. Let your voice be heard. That's the theme of this show. Speak your mind and let your voice be heard. That's where we are. Well, you know what? I didn't intend to stay on here this long, but thank each and every one of you for all the comments that you brought on here tonight. We've had an interesting year in Rockdale County, and I think 2025 is going to bring about the change that you, the community, so desperately sought and wanted, and that your votes brought in. Thank you for joining me. I will see you next week, which will be next year, on Speak Your Mind with Larry Cox. And again, January the 9th, 6 p.m. over on Pine Street, 960 Pine Street. That's where the Board of Education has their meetings. That is going to be where the swearing in ceremony is going to be. And I want to see you, my friends, join me, and let's celebrate together as I take office that night, because my victory is your victory. My being sworn in is your voice going on that board. So happy New Year, and I will see you next year on Speak Your Mind with Larry Cox. Remember, let your voice be heard. Thank you.